Okay, we are live. You're ready, Michelle.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Poway Unified School District Board of Education. It is 6:06 on May 14th, 2020, and we are in session. Notice to all, a recording and broadcast is being made at the direction of the board, and the recording or broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Even as restrictions from COVID-19 are beginning to loosen up in San Diego County, people are still losing lives daily to this disease. So I want to start off tonight's board meeting with a moment of silence for the victims of COVID-19. In San Diego County, 194 people have died. In California, over 2,900 people have died. And in the United States, over 85,000 people have died from the novel coronavirus. We must remain vigilant and all do our part to continue this fight. So please join me in a moment of silence to honor the lives lost to this virus. Thank you all. I invite you to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Item 3.2 is report out of closed session. Clerk Zane.
Thank you, Madam President. Closed session began at 4:12 p.m. The Board of Education took the following action in closed session. Item 2.3A, no reportable action. Item 2.4A, no reportable action. Item 2.4B, no reportable action. Item 2.6A, in the matter of public employee employment, elementary school principal, on a motion by Patel and a second by Couvret, the board voted to take action in closed session to appoint Raquel Katz as principal of Sundance Elementary School. The vote of the board was unanimous. Patel, Couvret, O'Connor, Ratcliffe, Beatty, and Zane voting aye. Item 2.6A, Part 2, in the matter of public employee employment, elementary school principal. On a motion by Patel and a second by Couvret, the board voted to take action in closed session to appoint Lisa McGuire as principal of Garden Road Elementary. The vote of the board was unanimous. Ayes Patel, Couvret, O'Connor, Ratcliffe, Beatty, and Zane. Item 2.6B, in the matter of public employee employment, middle school principal. On a motion by Couvret and a second by Patel, the board voted to take action in closed session to appoint Steve Mills as principal of Twin Peaks Middle School. The vote of the board was unanimous. Ayes Couvret, Patel, O'Connor, Ratcliffe, Beatty, and Zane. Item 2.6C, in the matter of public employee employment, high school principal, on a motion by Zane and a second by Couvret, the board voted to take action in closed session to appoint Hans Becker as principal of Rancho Bernardo High School. The vote of the board was as follows and unanimous: Zane, Couvret, O'Connor, Ratcliffe, Beatty, and Patel. 2.6D, in the matter of public employee employment, director of preschool, before and after school programs, on a motion by Patel and a second by Couvret, the board voted to take action in closed session to appoint Michelle Wilson Manos as director of preschool / before and after school programs and learning support services. The vote of the board was unanimous with ayes Patel, Couvret, O'Connor, Ratcliffe, Beatty, and Zane. No other reportable action was taken during closed session. Closed session adjourned at 5:34 p.m. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Zane. Item 3.3 is members in attendance. It looks like we've got everyone here, including our student board member, Ms. Akins. Nice to see you. Item 3.4 is the welcome to the public, so I'll turn that over to you, Ms. Akins.
Thank you. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education. Due to the COVID-19 related social distancing measures, the May 14th Board of Education meeting will be conducted entirely online via virtual video conferencing. Governor Newsom's executive order on March 12, 2020 waived the requirement for board members to physically participate in a public board meeting at the same location. The intent is not to limit public participation, but to protect public health by following the governor's stay-at-home order and San Diego County's order limiting attendance at public assemblies. Public speakers were requested to submit comments by the public comment form link between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. prior to the start of the 6 p.m. open session regular meeting. If indicated on the form, comments submitted via the online public comment form will be read aloud by our Chief Communications Officer, Christine Peck, during Agenda Item 4.2, Public Comments, or the corresponding agenda item. Item 4.2 is placed on our agenda to enable members of our community to bring items that are not placed anywhere else on the agenda to the board's attention. Under normal circumstances, comment time is limited to 3 minutes per public comment with a maximum of 15 minutes per topic unless waived by the board president. And speakers may only comment on one topic under item 4.2. Today, however, public comments are submitted prior to the board meeting and will be accommodated as time permits to ensure public participation. The Brown Act does not permit board action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda, but your concerns will be referred to staff. With that said, thank you and welcome for your comments.
Thank you, Ms. Aikens. Item 3.5 is approval of the agenda sequence. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
On a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Dr. Patel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I see 5. Okay, 5-0. That's unanimous. Thank you. Oh, I had a preferential vote. I am so sorry, Ms. Aikens. How would you vote? Thank you. I'm sorry. I'll get those. Excuse me. 4.1 is our student board representatives, but they have been postponed due to our COVID-19 crisis. So 4.2 is public comment. I'll turn it over to Clerk Zane.
Thank you, Madam President. We have one individual who submitted public comments, Terry Norwood, and Christine, Director Peck, will read the remarks.
Thank you, Clerk Zane. The following message is from Terry Norwood. Good evening, board and district staff. I would like to thank you for your work on the transition to distance learning during this national crisis. There are challenges ahead, and together we will make the best decisions to create a culture with conditions to empower world-class learners. I ask that you reevaluate your decision, however, not to hold an open and public session in which you, as the negotiator, reveal the real property or real properties which the negotiations may concern, and the person or persons with whom its negotiators may negotiate. The code regarding this issue is below. After just listening to the live video of the closed session at 4 p.m., why is there a need to not be transparent about this? Frustrated but respectfully submitted, Terry Norwood. P.S. Why are agendas of board meetings no longer being sent to community members that have requested them ahead of time, albeit after publication to district site?
That's it for public comments on that item, Madam President.
Okay, thank you very much. That takes us to item 5.1, approval of the consent calendar. I understand we have some public comments on this item. So Clerk Zane, would you like to go first and let me know which ones we're pulling for public comment?
Sure. Items 5.3E, 5.3K, 5.6A. All have individuals who have submitted public consent calendar comments for.
Okay, well, while you're up, do you want to pull anything else from the consent calendar, Mr. Zane?
I do not.
All right, let me start then down at the, well, down at the traditional end of the dais with Ms. Aikens. Would you like to pull anything?
No.
No? That takes us to Ms. Beatty. No, Ms. Dr. Patel, I'm sorry, I'm going out of order again.
Nothing to pull, thank you.
All right, Ms. Beatty.
Nothing to pull, thank you.
And Ms. Cabret.
Nothing to pull.
Okay, so that, all right. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar minus those 3 items Clerk Zane mentioned?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Cabret, second by Mr. Zane. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that looks like 5-0. Fantastic. Okay, so let's move on to those 3 items. And here's some public comment.
Item 5.3E, we have a public comment from Luis Firm.
Thank you, Clerk Zane. Consent calendar is for routine items. Are items 5.3E and 5.6A considered routine? Consent calendar 5.3E, approval of resolution number 61-2020 entitled Authorization to Make Temporary Transfers of Special and Restricted Monies Between District Funds for Fiscal Year 2020 to 2021. Is this a blanket approval to move special and restricted monies? Which restricted funds will be moved and how or when will it be returned and made available for their intended use?
This is an agendized item. I'd like to go to Mr. Little. And your microphone is not, oh, there we go.
Thank you, Madam President. In fact, this is a routine item. We do this every year. As you know, we get the bulk of our general fund money through property taxes in April and December. In some years, it becomes necessary to borrow temporarily from other funds outside the general fund, and we do that with this resolution. It may also be necessary to move money around within the general fund from one restricted program to an unrestricted program or vice versa. We're required to repay those transfers within the calendar year as stated on the green sheet. Or if the transfer comes 120 days prior to the end of the calendar year, we have to pay it at the beginning of the following subsequent fiscal year. So it is indeed routine.
Any comments or questions by the board members at this time?
Madam President, I recall voting on this often, or at least annually anyway. So in my view, it is pretty routine. And I think every other time we voted on it has been consent. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
And a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Dr. Patel. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That passes 5-0. 5.3K, also pulled by a member of the public. This is approval of resolution number 67-2020 entitled Authorization to Purchase Roofing Material under the California Multiple Award Schedule CMAS, contract number 420560006B.
Thank you, Madam President. The public speaker or commenter for this item is Sten Johnson, and Director Peck will read the comments.
Thank you, Clerk Zane. This resolution is for the district to directly purchase roofing materials to re-roof multiple buildings at Black Mountain Middle School and 2 buildings at Poway High School. The district is recommending utilizing the California Multiple Award Schedule, parentheses CMAS, to directly purchase the roofing materials for this project, with a stated objective of being able to leverage a previously awarded competitive bid to ensure the district receives the lowest price available on the materials. We have submitted a substitution request to provide the district with the same roof system types and same or better warranty terms than the specified roof materials. Our CMAS contract 4-18-00-0118A will save the district over $340,000 on this project, while also ensuring the district's quality standards for roofing are achieved. An itemized list of the materials has been included with our substitution request. With current conditions and budget uncertainty, these cost savings will be tremendously beneficial to Poway Unified Schools. We are requesting the district abstain from passing resolution number 67-2020 to purchase materials via CMAS contract 4-20-56-0006B until our substitution request is accepted or rejected. Thank you for your consideration. Sten Johnson, Senior Field Advisor for Tremco, Inc.
Thank you, Ms. Peck. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Little.
Thank you, Madam President. Typically, substitution offers are not of the same quality or caliber. of these specs that are necessarily indicated in the RFP. I think, to be honest, I have not looked at the substitution request, so I'd recommend that we do pull the item so that I have time to review the submittal, and then we'll bring it back at the next June meeting.
Okay, with that, is there a motion to pull the item?
I'll make a motion to pull the item and also ask the question, Mr. Little, did this individual, did they participate in the RFP process?
Let's see, we have a list. Yeah, I'm assuming they did, but I don't know for a fact. Tremco, I'm sure. I think they did the job walk, but whether or not they submitted a bid, I'd have to check and get back to you.
I have a motion by Mr. Zane to pull this item from the agenda. A second by Dr. Patel. Any questions or discussion? All right, all in favor of pulling this item? All right, that's 5-0. Thanks very much. Thank you for the recommendation, Mr. Little. So that item is pulled from the agenda. Oh, what was the last one? 5.6A?
It was 5.6A, but it's the same speaker who spoke to 5.3E, and it sounded as though she combined her comments. It's your prerogative, Madam President, whether you wish to have Ms. Peck read the comments again for 5.6A.
Okay, well, let me introduce the item quickly here then. That 5.6A is approve Resolution 68-2020 establishing compatibility, uniformity, and standardization measures for the district's security systems. Waive competitive bidding requirements for purchase and installation of equipment for PUSD elementary schools. And this is Dr. Burks.
Madam President, there are additional comments under this particular item from that same.
Okay, well, let's read those before we go to Dr. Burks then.
Thank you. Given the tight budget and financial needs to support distance learning, why are you waiving the requirements for competitive bidding?
Okay, thank you. Now to Dr. Burks, sorry.
Thank you. Our goal and reason for waiving that is because we are currently have security cameras at our middle and high schools, and we would like to standardize moving forward with the same system, the same servers to create that uniformity and standardization that would allow us to actually have a cost savings, because we would be able to have the system on one multiple servers, but on the same system. Otherwise, we would potentially have to have different systems, different training models, different training vendors, and that actually would most likely be cost prohibitive and cost more money to do it that way.
Thank you. Dr. Burks, can you remind me, I'm recalling that we've also waived competitive bidding requirements in the past when we've wanted to add security cameras to campuses that already had them so we could get them on the same system.
Correct. We
did initially go out for competitive bidding for this.
Yes, we did. We did go back and do that in June of 2018. And then when we added additional cameras based on recommendations from the sites, we added an additional 5 cameras. We waived that competitive bidding. And moving forward with the elementary sites, we would like to go ahead and waive that competitive bidding again because we are already utilizing that system. The servers that do the recordings, and most of the staff has already been trained. So our own staff can actually do a lot of the repairs and or training versus having to go out and have other vendors come and do that.
Thank you. Any questions for, yes, Mr. Zane?
I'll make the motion to approve the item. I recall having a number of discussions with staff, apparently close to 2 years ago now, with regard to the benefits of when possible, staying with a single vendor for our security products. There are some economies of scale when we do this. And while it's possible we can go out there and find another vendor who might be slightly cheaper for their product in the short term, when it comes time to ordering replacement parts across the district, et cetera, it's cheaper to go with the sole source provider up front for consistency.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Zane. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Patel. Any discussion on this item? I'm excited that we get to move ahead and make sure we have camera coverage at all of our sites, given some of our security concerns over the past few weeks in particular. With that then, no other comments, discussion? All right, all in favor? I'm seeing 5-0, that passes. Thank you. That takes us to 6.0s. All right, 6.1, approval of resolution number 53-2020 entitled Resolution Regarding the Elimination or Reduction in Hours of Classified Positions as contained within Exhibit A and corresponding layoff of classified employees. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Madam President. The California Education Code 45117 and 45308 require that the Board of Education take the initial step of reduction in hours or the elimination of certain classified positions prior to actual personnel action being taken with affected employees. Attached to this board item is a resolution for the elimination of 4 classified positions due to a change in local school site foundation funding for next year. The district has worked with the Poway School Employees Association to negotiate the impacts and effects of the elimination of these 4 positions, and all layoff rights, procedures, and notifications will be observed in accordance with our provisions of the Education Code, our collective bargaining agreement, as well as our Personnel Commission rules. The board is asked to approve the resolution for this action.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Jimenez? Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Couvret. Any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Thank you. That's 5-0, passes. Moving right along. 6.2 is ratification of the Poway Federation of Teachers, PFT, tentative agreement 2020 to 2021. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, President O'Connor-Ratcliffe. Our current collective bargaining agreement between the district and the Poway Federation of Teachers is due to expire June 30th, 2020. The district and PFT have recently engaged in negotiations using an interest-based bargaining model over the last several months. In light of the current health and economic impact due to the COVID-19 pandemic, PFT and the district have tentatively agreed to a settlement for a new 3-year successor agreement. This agreement maintains all current teacher salary schedules and health and welfare benefits for the calendar year 2020. The tentative agreement was recently ratified by PFT members with a vote of 902 votes in favor and only 6 no votes. The board is asked to consider the approval of the tentative agreement between the district and the Poway Federation of Teachers.
Thank you. Are there questions for Mr. Jimenez?
I've got a couple of questions.
Ms. Beatty, go for it.
Mr. Jimenez, so this is a 3-year agreement that locks in the current salary structure. So given that we're facing some potential structural deficits that could, make the deficits during the Great Recession pale in comparison. At that time, we negotiated furloughs. I'm wondering how this potentially boxes us in the next 3 years as far as what avenues for savings would be at our disposal other than just increasing class sizes by way of reduction in staff.
With the new 3-year successor agreement, the contract also provides the opportunity for reopener negotiations in the following year 2 and year 3 regarding wages, health and welfare, and 1 additional article that each party can select. If there were any proposed recommendations for any changes to salary schedules or furloughs, as you had mentioned, that would require under the law that we engage in those negotiations with our union partners to reach an agreement. But as I mentioned earlier, this 3-year contract does provide the opportunity for reopener negotiations throughout the term of this contract.
Thank you. No more. I don't have any more questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Beatty. Any other questions for Mr. Jimenez?
I have a question. So are the board members just approving the proposed agreement without knowing the source of funding for the upcoming years, for future years, because it says applicable on section E.
So the board item also includes the required AB 1200 disclosures, which was submitted to our San Diego County Office of Education, which approved the impact of this current settlement agreement. The current level of salaries were already approved in the last agreement, and so that cost is maintained and reflected in this AB 1200 disclosure, which has been approved by our County Office of Education.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Dr. Patel. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Zane. Any more discussion of this item or more questions? I'm pleased that we're settling this one quickly with the recognition that this is hard. We're walking into the unknown and things could get a little bleak. So I'm pleased we were able to settle this with the teachers early, with the recognition by them that likely there will need to be some changes up and coming. So yeah. Any other comments? No? Okay. All in favor? That's 5 of us. 5-0. Passes. Thank you. 6.3. Public hearing and approval of the initial proposal from the Board of Education to Poway School Employees Association, PSEA, Unit 1. This is a second reading. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, President O'Connor-Ratcliffe. Currently, we have a 3-year contract between the district and the Poway School Employees Association, PSEA Unit 1. Year 2 of this agreement begins on July 1, 2020. Article 22 of the contract stipulates that health and welfare benefits or wages may be reopened and negotiated for the 2020-21 school year, and one additional article for each party to select. This proposal allows the parties to begin negotiations in advance of the 2021 medical benefit plan year. This item was presented for information only at a previous board meeting and provided the public the opportunity for review and public comment. This evening, the board is asked to provide the opportunity for a public hearing or public comment and then subsequently approve the initial proposal.
With the understanding that this is a little bit difficult for the public to join in at the last moment, this does open the public hearing at 6:33. Clerk Zane, are you aware of any public comments?
I don't have any public comments for this item.
Any updates on that from staff at this time?
There are none. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peck. All right, then at this time, I will close the public hearing at 6:33. And that takes us to time for a motion or questions or board's call. Is there a motion to approve? Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Zane. I didn't see you waving at me. On a motion by Mr. Zane and a second by Dr. Patel, any discussion on this item?
I think we're in the same situation where we're happy to see closure on some of these negotiations. It is going to be tough moving forward. How we land on the governor's may revise. I know some of that came out today. I haven't had time to catch up on it, but we are looking at tough times ahead, and it's nice to know that we're tightening up some of these contracts so that they're done. Let's hope we do well with this contract and move forward.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions before we vote?
But just to clarify Ms. Patel's comments, this is just the opening for negotiations, not the tentative agreement, correct?
Right.
That is correct.
Seeing no other comments, wave at me. No? All right, all in favor? All right, I see 5 hands, 5-0. That passes. Thank you. Item 6.4 is public hearing and approval of the initial proposal from the Board of Education to the Poway School Employees Association, Unit 2, second reading. So we've got both units now. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, so similarly as with Unit 1, Unit 2, we currently have a 3-year contract between the district and the unit. Article 20 of this contract also stipulates that health and welfare benefits or wages may be reopened and negotiated for the upcoming school year, and one additional article for each party to select. This evening also offers the opportunity for any public comment on what was presented last month in this initial proposal. The board is asked to open a public hearing or hear public comments and then subsequently approve the initial proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. At this time, I will open the public hearing at 6:36. Clerk Zane, are there any public comments?
There are not.
Can you confirm that, Ms. Peck?
Confirm.
Okay, thank you very much. Then at this time, I will close the public hearing at 6:36 and ask for a motion or discussion, question.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Zane. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Patel. Any discussion? No? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? That's 5 in favor, 5-0. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 6.5, initial proposal for contract negotiations from Poway School Employees Association, Unit 1, 2020 to 2021. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Madam President. Item 6.5 is the initial proposal presented from our Poway School Employees Association Unit 1 to the district. As I mentioned earlier, currently we are in year 1 of a 3-year agreement. Article 22 provides the opportunity for reopening negotiations. The association has submitted their proposal for the board's acceptance. This is an information item only and does not require action be taken by the board. You're only asked to accept Unit 1's proposal this evening.
And with that, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none. Item 6.6 is the initial proposal for contract negotiations from Poway School Employees Association Unit 2 for 2021. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, President O'Connor-Ratcliffe. 6.6 is Unit 2's initial proposal for reopener negotiations. Again, this initial proposal from the association is for information only, does not require action be taken by the board. The board is asked to accept the association's initial proposal for reopener negotiations as attached to this board item.
Thank you. Again, for the board members, any questions or comments on this item? All right, seeing none, information only, we'll move on. Item 6.7 is approval of California School Boards Association Board Policy 4000 series, our first reading. This is a non-voting item as well. Mr. Jimenez, you're on a roll.
One more, here we go. Thank you, Madam President. The board is presented this evening with the first reading of several board policies in the 4000 personnel series that are aligned with those of the California School Boards Association. The Board Policy 4000, Concepts and Roles of the School Board, Policy 4030 regarding non-discrimination in employment, and Policy 4033, Lactation Accommodation, are aligned with requirements under law and have been reviewed by staff, and this evening are presented to the board as a first reading.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I would just like to make a comment as this is the first one of several board policy sets that we're going to look at. I want to thank staff for arranging these policy reviews to include the redlining out of old language and new language. It's really helpful to see and understand what we're changing. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. This is a first reading, so no vote necessary. Ready
That is
to go?
correct.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to the 7.0s. All right, it's Mr. Little's turn. Item 7.1 is a public hearing and approval of resolution number 64-2020 entitled Adoption of an Addendum to the 2006 Certified Environmental Impact Report for the Del Norte High School Expansion, Field, and Lighting Project. Mr. Little.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe we have 2 guests in the waiting room to let in, Mr. Mears and Ms. Alsbach.
My question is, should we have them make their presentation before we open the public hearing?
I think the public hearing comes first, and then we can present afterwards.
Okay, so I'll do that now then. Okay, at this time then I would open the public hearing at 6:40 p.m. Clerk Zane, do we have any public comments on this item?
I don't have any comments. We can confirm with Ms. Peck.
No public comments.
Okay, thank you. Then I will close the public hearing at 6:40 p.m. All right, back to you, Mr. Little.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Agenda item 7.1 seeks board approval after the public hearing that we just held of an addendum to the 2006 Certified Environmental Impact Report for Del Norte High School. Under the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, we are required to report and complete an environmental study related to the proposed expansion, field, and lighting project at Del Norte High School. Staff has worked with our CEQA consultant, Dwayne Mears of PlaceWorks, who joins us and who is available for any questions this evening. Through his work and our work, it was determined that the scope of the proposed project does not exceed the environmental effects analyzed, avoided, or mitigated in the 2006 Environmental Impact Report. And with board approval, a notice of determination will be filed with the proper state agency, and the project can move forward through the State School Facilities Program as an approved project to request grant funding.
All right, thank you, Mr. Little. Does the board have any questions for our guests? Wow, I've never known an environmental impact report to be so easy to read. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions for you, Mr. Mears, so thank you very much for being with us. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Wow, everybody moved on my screen here. I'm not sure where my board members are now. I'm looking.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Patel with a motion and a second by Ms. Couvret. Thank you. Any comments? I'm not seeing any wave at me, though. We have a lot of people on the screen right now. All right, I'm not seeing anything. We do have a preferential vote by our student board member, Ms. Akins.
Aye.
Thank you very much. For the rest of the board members, all in favor? Looks unanimous. That's 6-0. It passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mears.
Yeah, thank you all. So it was our pleasure.
Short and sweet. All right, then. Item 7.2 then is public hearing and approval of resolution number 46-2020 entitled Approval of an Increase in Fees on Development Projects Pursuant to Government Code Sections 65995 and 66001 and California Education Code Section 17620. Mr. Little.
Yes, thank you again. And we do have Mr. Floyd with us. If we want to let him into the meeting. He is a senior associate with Koppel and Gruber, who conducted the analysis, so he can answer any questions. This item is being presented this evening to consider the approval of an increase to level 1 developer fees on development projects, which provide a source of funding, obviously, for our facilities projects. The State Allocation Board reviews the maximum authorized developer fees every January in even numbered years. At their January 22nd meeting, the fees were increased. The maximum developer fees authorized are currently $4.08 per square foot for residential construction and 66 cents per square foot for commercial development. In order to collect level 1 fees, the district is prepared to file and prepare a fee justification study that we share with you electronically. And the study that Mr. Floyd conducted finds that the district is reasonably justified in levying level 1 developer fees. So we're asking for your approval this evening of the report and of the study.
Okay, so before we go to questions and comments from the board, this is a public hearing. So I will open the public hearing at 6:44. Clerk Zane, any public comments?
Sorry, no known commenters. Ms. Peck?
Confirmed.
Thank you very much. So at 6:44, I will close the public hearing. Okay, now it's open for questions and comments for Mr. Floyd or Mr. Little, board members.
I have a comment / question. This is all for all properties that are within the Poway Unified Boundary, regardless of which municipality they're attached to. Is that correct?
Hi, good evening. That is correct. It would be any properties within the Poway Unified School District boundaries that are not part of a community facilities district.
Right. So then the comment would be collecting these fees are very important for the school district. A lot of our schools are in communities that are older and aging. And as redevelopment comes up, it's going to come up more and more. We need to collect those fees to improve our schools, which are also aging. So I'm happy to see this come forward and for us to be able to collect an increased amount of fees. I think it's very helpful for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I would like to just ask a clarifying question based on Dr. Patel's comment. These fees that are collected as far as their use, is it limited to the community that's impacted by that development, that it can't just be sort of, siphoned off to another part of the district?
No, these fees are collected district-wide, and the fees can be used for any new construction or reconstruction facilities project in the district. There's no limitations.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Jump right in. All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Dr. Patel. I'm sorry, second by Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Yes, okay, sorry. All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All right, I'm not seeing any. Do we have a preferential vote for this one? I think we do. Yes, okay. Ms. Akins.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you. So that's one aye. For the rest of the board members, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's everybody. 6-0 again. That passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Floyd.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
All right, item 7.3 then is COVID-19 pandemic fiscal impacts. Mr. Little, we also have a public comment on this one, but you can introduce the item first before we take our public comment.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I believe our Assistant Director of Finance, Mr. Tarantino, is going to join us for the next 2 agenda items. And this evening, we will provide the board with an update on the projected fiscal impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic for this year and for next, as we know them at this point.
Okay, I'll go to Clerk Zane.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a public commenter on this item, Danielle Alfin from Poway. Ms. Peck?
Thank you, Clerk Zane. Good evening, Superintendent Kim Phelps and members of our Poway Unified Board of Education. I'm a Poway resident, a parent of 3 PUSD students, an avid volunteer, and an educator by profession. I'm appealing to you tonight to ask that you please do everything in your power to open our schools for students to resume their education in their schools, in their classrooms, on their playgrounds and campuses and sports field, with their peers and teachers. We have denied our children of 13 weeks of school, and based on clear evidence, we have done enough. Despite the admirable efforts of our teachers and equally impressive efforts of parents, the quality of the education our children are receiving right now is not acceptable, and I refuse to stand by and watch silently as we consider a diluted educational program for the coming year or two. I was supportive of the temporary closure when our aim was to flatten the curve. We have flattened the curve exceedingly well, and the data no longer supports these extreme levels of social distancing. According to the San Diego County News briefing dated May 13th, we are currently experiencing a COVID-19 case rate that is less than 0.2%, 0.18% for the state of California and 0.16% for San Diego County. The death rate is even more minuscule. It is also noteworthy that exactly 0 of the cases in San Diego County and 0 deaths have been aged 0 to 19, the population our schools are tasked with serving. I most definitely wish to protect our most vulnerable children and staff from the potential effects of this virus. I believe we can do that without sacrificing the school experience for the entirety of the 36,000 plus students who count on PUSD for their education. The concepts of staggered starts, smaller classes, prohibited or severely limited social interaction, and continued distance learning do not serve the best interests of our students and community, and they are not fiscally feasible either. In his May revised today, the governor proposed a $6.9 billion cut to K-12 education. We cannot reduce class size, improve connectivity, increase access to technology, and completely redesign the K-12 experience to be implemented online or even in a hybrid model while also facing these deep cuts. It takes courage to defy a tidal wave of media pressure, even when the hard facts prove it is the right thing. Please, for the sake of our children, our teachers, our staff, and our families, let's make some reasonable plans to keep those with health risks safe and bring school back for the coming school year. A safe and aggressive plan to open schools is the type of bold move necessary to sustain the world-class education for which Poway Unified is revered. We are counting on your leadership.
Thank you, Ms. Peck. That concludes the public comments on this item.
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Little.
Thank you, Madam President. So you'll note on the green sheet that we've divided the impacts of COVID-19 into three categories. One, the 2019-20 projected expenditures related to COVID-19. Two, technology devices and resources necessary for distance learning. And these are over a 2-year time period, 2019-20 and 2021. And three, projected revenue losses for 2019-20 related to school closures and programmatic changes at the district. So we'll briefly review each of these categories. So category one then, 2019-2020 projected expenses are estimated at $1.6 million. These expenditures include costs associated with ensuring safe, clean, and sanitized facilities, to provide equipment to our frontline staff to make sure they're protected and safe, to communicate more effectively with our PUSD community, and additional staffing costs associated with providing meals to our students and meeting the needs of our preschoolers with special needs. Moving to the second category, related to technology devices and distance learning, this is obviously a more substantial investment, and it's one that we're going to be making over the next 2 years. So we've begun this work, and it will continue through 2020-21. We project expenditures of approximately $44 million, delineated as follows. And I'm not going to hit every line item, but just an overview of each. About $28.7 million for one-to-one devices for all of our students. Hotspots for those students who do not have access to technology. Technology for staff as they need it to support the educational program. Professional development for teachers and for staff around distance learning. Then we have $7.5 million for other distance learning resources. These are more along the resource support resources for the distance learning implementation. So we have things like iReady, which is a personalized learning platform. We have new curriculum adoptions such as calculus with online resources and access for our students and our teachers. We have software licenses for curriculum such as ELA and reading skills instruction and many other instructional software applications I'm sure Dr. Burks could speak to if there are some questions. And finally, in that category too, we have $8.25 million set aside or estimated for distance learning and compensatory education for our special ed students. So given those two categories, overall then we're estimating our COVID-related expenditures at a little over $46 million over 2 years. This equates to about almost $1,300 per ADA for our district. And we'll come back to that number in a minute. The final category on the green sheet, the third category, accounts for lost revenues as a result of our school closures and our program closures. And these are losses estimated through June 30th, 2020, this fiscal year. And you can see that the largest of these includes $2.6 million of lost revenues for meals sales for our food and nutrition program, and approximately $6 million of revenues in our after-school ESS program. These, along with the other amounts noted, total $9.5 million of estimated loss for this year, and that equates to about $267 per ADA. So in summary, staff at this point projects a total of approximately $55.5 million of COVID-19 impacts over the 2-year period this year and next. Briefly, from the revenue side, what can we expect to mitigate these costs? As you know, Senate Bill 117 that was passed by the legislators in March 17th provided some LEA COVID-19 relief. Poway received $617,824 from that bill. That's about $17 per ADA. And it looks like our share of the Federal CARES Act, which was signed by the president on March 27th, will result in about $1.55 million to Poway Unified, or approximately $43 per ADA. So between the state resources and the federal resources coming our way, we receive about $2.17 million, or approximately $61 per ADA in total, to offset the expenditure cost alone of $12.97 per ADA. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And as I mentioned, our Assistant Director of Finance, Mr. Tarantino, who has done a great job pulling all this data together and putting it in the report, is also available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Little. I'll open it up to board members. I think it goes without saying that this is really a pathetic shortfall from our state and federal government. This is not anywhere near what we need. It's not even, God, I don't want to go into how terrible this is, but I think it's important that we all remember that part of our jobs here on the Board of Education is to continue to lobby our public officials at different levels and tell them what we need. This is kind of a scary number, and I think our local electeds need to hear it from us. So let's get on it. Anybody else can jump in. I can't really see who's looking to speak. Kimberly.
So, Mr. Little, thank you for the presentation. So obviously what's missing is how we're going to handle it, and I assume that will be presented to the board in June when we have our 2 meetings in order to approve the final budget, not just for 19-20, but then for the subsequent 2 years. So I don't know if it's premature to start, to start that discussion as far as how we want to address it. Is that something we want to wait and have more of a serious conversation with follow-up numbers at the first June board meeting?
I think that would be the best approach. I think we'll know more about the any other additional funding that may be coming out of Sacramento or Washington by early June. And staff is still, as you're mentioning and recognizing, we're still looking at exactly how we're going to marshal the resources to achieve all of this over the next 2 years.
And this is the first step in the process. All right, thank you.
Did I see Dr. Patel?
Yeah, I was going to comment that CSBA is doing a lot of work to advocate on behalf of schools to get more funding at the state and federal level. The challenge is that a lot of it is caught in between these being needs for all students. These aren't, so we're looking at the flexible spending versus attached to any sort of categoricals, because these increased expenses go across the board. All districts, all students are going to be impacted by it, regardless of socioeconomic status. So I think, and I'll talk about this in my report a little bit more, but we are going to have to lobby a lot more, as you said, Board President.
Yeah. I think we have no choice at this point. Any other comments on this one? Questions for our guest, Mr. Tarantino?
I just have a comment. Thank you, Mr. Little, for putting this on to perspective. I know that the state and federal relief for COVID-19 hasn't been what we need. So I feel like knowing this and having our public be aware of these issues is, it's good for us to know. So thank you. And Mr. Tarantino, I like your name.
Thank you, Ms. Aiken. Any further comments from any of our board members? Questions, comments? No? Okay, we're all trying not to cry. Okay. This is an information item, so no vote. Item 7.4, authorization of resolution number 63-2020, entitled Designate Subrecipients Agents for application to FEMA and filing with the State of California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. Mr. Little.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. This agenda item speaks directly to Trustee Beatty's last question. So how will we marshal resources? And as we noted, we're hopeful that we'll get some help at the federal level. And one resource that we're looking to tap into, of course, is FEMA and FEMA's Disaster Relief Fund. So we're finalizing, again, Mr. Tarantino's doing the yeoman's job of carrying the data through to the FEMA Disaster Relief Fund. That program has about $70 billion of aid available to provide agencies with assistance to mitigate the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're going to submit an application for the expenditures that we just reported on. So that $46 million of expenditures to FEMA. And part of the process involved has Mr. Tarantino and Ms. Ramiro, our finance director, submitting data to FEMA through an application process, which, believe it or not, goes to the State of California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. So by adopting this resolution, you're authorizing the district staff, particular agents, to submit, manage, and complete the application for FEMA assistance.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Any questions? Mr. Zane.
I'll make a quick comment and a motion to approve and just thank Mr. Little and Ms. Ramiro, Mr. Tarantino for their hard work on these items. Last one and this one, I was really just kind of at a loss for words in the last item. It's sobering. And the hard part is just coming to terms with the fact that we cannot fool ourselves into thinking that we're going to probably realize even half of what we anticipate our losses are on this from state and federal combined. So I think that just really sets us up for some really tough decisions on the part of the district in the months ahead. But I applaud you for your efforts and what you're doing and wish you luck along the way. And, you have a board here who is willing to help where we can and advocate where we can. But, it is what it is right now. But thank you for what you're doing. And again, I reiterate my motion to approve.
Thank you. That's a motion from Mr. Zane, a second by Dr. Patel. Further discussion on this. I have a question then before we vote. This was not marked for a vote by our student board member. Is that correct? This seems like something she should be voting on. Okay, not hearing anything. I'm going to open this up to a vote by Ms. Akins.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Akins. And for the rest of the board, all in favor? All right, that looks like 6-0. This one passes, and everybody hold your breath. Let's see what happens. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tarantino.
This takes us to 8.1, ratification of stipulated agreement for student expulsion. Ms. Osborne.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we bring forward one stipulated agreement for board approval.
Thank you. And we did have an opportunity to ask questions in the private forum of closed session. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Zane. And a second? Tie goes to Ms. Couvret. All right, on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Couvret. We really shouldn't be having discussion and open about this, so I'll just go to the vote. All in favor? That looks like 5-0. That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 8.2 is California School Boards Association New Board Policy 6157, Distance Learning First Reading. Ms. Osborne.
Thank you. Board Policy 6157, distance learning, is a new policy that has been developed by CSBA and reviewed by staff. This reflects our current distance learning plan as well as provides guidance for the future. And we are presenting this tonight as a first reading.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments by the board? This is a non-voting item since it's just a first reading. Seeing none? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 8.3. Proposed adoption of high school honors Spanish 7-8 textbooks, also a first reading. Ms. Osborne.
Thank you, Madam President. As we continue to ensure we have updated instructional materials, tonight's recommendation is presented based on input from teachers and staff. We are recommending materials from Vista Higher Learning for adoption at Rancho Bernardo High School for Honors Spanish 7-8. This is a first reading.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board?
A comment. I love this idea. I would have taken it.
I am thrilled to see us moving forward with new language textbooks at any site for any language. I'm thrilled that we're finally getting there. So thank you. Glad to see this one. So that takes us to our 11.0s. 11.1 is the approval of regular board meeting dates for 2021. First reading, so no vote again. But Dr. Phelps, did you have anything you wanted to say on this since it's technically your item?
Really don't, other than we bring you forward the first reading of our proposed 2021 regular board meetings scheduled dates.
Any questions or comments from the board? We can all check our calendars and doesn't fall on any of our kids' birthdays or anything. All right. We've fallen on February 14th so many years. I'm happy to see that's not the case this time. All right. Any questions? No vote. All right. That takes us to board member reports 12.1. Let's go with Ms. Akins.
Thank you, Madam Board President. During our last meeting at the dais, or the virtual dais, I've been up to the same old with online classes, graduation committee meetings, and this week this was the start of AP exams online, virtually, which was something that some students look forward to and other students did not look forward to. ESS aides are writing letters to their students, and we have been receiving some adorable letters back. I've even got a kindergartner who has written back to me, mainly drawings, but it's still nice to hear from our little kiddos who are hanging in there just as much as we are trying to. After this board meeting, I only have 2 more to go, so I wish I could have been there in person, but it's been a blast still doing this virtually online and just trying to talk to as many students as I can who are dealing with issues they faced during this whole entire online classes and COVID-19 pandemic. And in light of the discussions we had tonight regarding the COVID-19 state and federal fiscal relief, I think in upcoming years of trying to remedy this financial impact that our district faces because of this pandemic, it is so important for us to put the students first in our decisions and make sure that the students are really being prioritized in upcoming discussions. And with that being said, I conclude my board member report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Aiken. Don't bring up how many are left. Oh, gosh. All right, Dr. Patel.
Yes, good evening. I want to open my report by acknowledging that there's still a lot of disappointment and uncertainty that everyone is genuinely trying to navigate right now. Throughout this pandemic, there will be circumstances within our control and those circumstances that we really can't control. And at this point, I'm trying to focus my energy on where I can make a difference. In that regard, I'm doing my best to model flexibility, creativity, and gratitude, both at home and in my work with district staff and families and students. And that's not in denial of these obviously challenging circumstances, but with the knowledge that we will not only get through this, but we will grow and improve from this experience. I am an optimist, and I firmly believe that. Through my role as a delegate on the CSBA, I've been working with other school board members on how to best advocate for substantial flexible funding to meet the ever-increasing costs of adapting to this pandemic. ranging from increased meal service, technology access, social media, social emotional supports, not social media, not to mention completely revamped distance learning platform. In addition to the call for increased federal emergency funding, we are meeting with our elected officials and sharing with them the range of challenges that we must overcome, with the full knowledge that we will most likely simultaneously be facing cuts in state funding. While public education may be accustomed to always doing more with less, it's now at the point of being completely unrealistic without increased emergency and not only emergency, but sustained funding. On another note, I was happy to hear our graduation committee reached a consensus plan for celebrating our students in the high school students, as well as our promoting students for the class of 2020, which was announced by Dr. Phelps in her communication with the district. The committee worked through many scenarios with strong opinions on various sides, but in the end successfully put forth a plan that was student-driven, acceptable by county, state, and federal guidelines, and fulfills district requirements. And I would like to acknowledge congratulations to all the committee members that participated in this decision process. It's a job well done. Finally, I want to share an observation that was captured well in an article I recently read online regarding Zoom fatigue. Somewhere in the range of distance learning and distance working, there's the right balance of online interpersonal interactions. Our kids, our students, have been raised in an environment where that student-teacher relationship is key to their motivation and success. It's not enough for lessons to be deposited online on a Monday for students to turn in assignments on Friday. But we also know that Zoom, Meets, Teams, or whatever platform you decide to use can also be very exhausting mentally and emotionally. And fatigue is setting in for many of our students and possibly our staff as well. But there's an opportunity to share your experiences. Dr. Phelps in her communication also announced a thought exchange where from what I understand, there are already thousands of comments coming in. So it sounds like parents are contributing, students, staff are contributing towards improving the platform, what we've already set forth. Congratulations to all of those seniors that managed, or all of those students that managed to get through AP testing. I'm not sure how many sessions are left. I did hear there are several hiccups and a little stress and anxiety and a lot of relief. So congratulations to those that are still going through them, and good luck to any that have any left to come. AP testing in the time of COVID-19. Maybe there's a story there. I don't know. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. Ms. Beatty.
Thank you. And I want to echo Ms. Aiken's call for putting students first. I mean, that's our ever-present mantra, but more so now during this time. And as I said last month, and I'll continue to say, it's just what the current young generation has to go through. This once-in-a-century event and the other issues that they've had to contend with that my and other generations didn't have to deal with is just more than their fair share, shall we say. So whatever we can do to help and support these students, that's what we need to do. And just to change tracks, I want to make a tribute to much beloved Richard Mason, who recently passed away. All of us knew and loved him. I had hoped to attend his 100th birthday and almost got there. But Richard, was ever present at our board meetings. Speaking of putting students first, that's what he did for many years with his service and work at the Rancho Bernardo High School Friends of the Library there, serving on the board. He was a Renaissance man. He lived a life. He had a career in the CIA. He owned his own business. He taught the students here in Poway Unified, the fifth graders, ballroom dancing. And he was an advocate for more funding for the students. In fact, when I first met him, back in 2009, we actually were lobbying our local state assembly member. And we went up to the office, and I remember the assembly member said something about, reducing staff. There was too much fat in the education system. The assembly member, who shall remain nameless, was currently on the Board of Supervisors. And Richard, I was a little worried because he got so angry, when the staff member was proposing that there was fat in the system, and we could, cut staff, and that would solve all our problems. But Richard always went around with a button on his shirt, and the button just said $1 billion, and had the $sign 1 billion. And I asked him, what does that mean? He said, it's my goal to raise $1 billion for our kids, for our students. So he always had those lofty high goals, but he persisted. He himself was a constant lifelong learner. Every day he got up, the first thing he did was teach himself another language. I don't know. I've lost count how many languages he knew, but it was, maybe it was Mandarin or Japanese or, some other dialect. And of course, I know everyone remembers him from coming to the board meetings, and usually he had some floppy, worn out language workbook, Spanish or French, and he wanted everyone to see what in poor shape these workbooks were because they were so old, and kept asking for more funding for books and more funding for the libraries. And anyway, Richard, we love you, and you're gonna be missed by everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beatty. That was a lovely tribute. Mr. Zane.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, actually, that's exactly what I was going to say to Ms. Beatty. Thank you so much for that. That was a beautiful, fitting tribute to Mr. Mason. I had not heard the news. He was quite a man. I didn't get to know him as well as you and some others did. I know that, but my prayers and thoughts are with his family during this time, and I hope they find peace and comfort. He was quite the advocate for our children in our district, and so I think we can all be grateful for individuals like that. I'll just start by saying a belated Happy Mother's Day for everybody on the conference here and watching at home. I hope you celebrated it and thanked your mom, called your mom. If your mom's not with you any longer, I pray that you had some good thoughts about your mom on Mother's Day. I'll quickly add that I also have been participating on the committee discussing plans for commencement and promotion, and share Dr. Patel's sentiments. It's been very gratifying to see that the plans that the district, with which the district will be moving forward, were very much student driven. And that was very cool to see, as particularly on a Zoom meeting earlier today, the plan that was put up on screen by one of the students that put this together. It was great. I mean, you would not have known if you just tuned into that meeting and it was up on the screen that was something that the students had done and not a staff or administrator. So kudos to PUSD students for pulling this together. I also want to just give a quick shout out and a thank you to teachers throughout the district. It is the week for doing that, and I am grateful for my children's teachers and teachers throughout the district. But the teacher for whom I'm most grateful right now happens to be my wife. Right, she has taken on quite the teacher role, and amongst her many other roles. And so I'm going to extend out the teacher appreciation to my wife this year. And then lastly, I just want in previous years, this May meeting has fallen on my daughter's birthday. Thankfully, my daughter turns 6 this Saturday. I'll be able to celebrate her birthday uninterrupted this Saturday. And that's just a testament to what our students are thinking, and sometimes the way in which they articulate what they think. It was just a week or two ago where my daughter was saying that she looks forward to not having to see her friends in little rectangles again, because of her experience in seeing everybody just like we're seeing each other here now. But hang in there, and everybody keep doing a great work, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Mr. Zane. I loved seeing your daughter on the Zoom call this morning briefly. That was fun. Ms. Couvrette.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of listening because I guess that's what we have to do right now since there's so many unknowns and information changes, seems like minute to minute. I just want to commend everyone at the district office for trying and working so hard when you kind of go down one plan and then all of a sudden you get more information and have to change direction so quickly. I know it's chaotic and I'm a planner, so I can only imagine how frustrating it is for you all. And I just hope that with other countries opening up and schools going into session, we can take data from them and that our state and county will actually heed that and hopefully return our kids to some sense of normalcy. Because the other things I'm hearing really frightens me as we try to get equity in our student learning and such. I also really enjoyed the graduation meetings. I know a lot of you guys were involved in that. But what was wonderful to me is I've had people on a conference going, from the community going, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And it was so nice for me to say that we have a committee of 40 people with principals and students and ASB directors and really a thoughtful way of going about this, and how you guys sent out a survey to all the seniors and really respected that because it's not about our graduation, it's about their graduation. And I hope July 30th proves to be a really special day for the class of 2020. I've also spoken to a lot of teachers, and they're doing amazing, amazing things. And what you really see is their heart. And they want to hug their kids and they want to do all these warm things. And they're so frustrated because they can't do that. But it's just a testament to what kind of people we have educating our kids, which makes me really proud to work with them. I know that Dr. Patel and I were listening in on the Cal SSD conference call and how Sacramento doesn't know what's going on either. And then you listen to the county of Ed and they don't know what's going on either. And AXA as well. And basically they say we're all in this together. So I just want to say hats off to everyone, because I know that as soon as we have direction, you guys have the tools to move us forward and make it the best experience for our kids. And I just want to say thank you for that. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Couvrette. That's my turn then. By my count, this is the 70th day of quarantine and physical distancing. Yay! We had the worst hiccup with our technology yet today. I missed an entire Zoom session of my son's that he was supposed to be there, and there were people waiting for us and emailing me saying, "Did you forget?" No, I didn't forget. My internet went out just briefly, of course, when I needed it. My daughter was taking 2 online tests today, so luckily she was not in the middle of either of those when it happened, but I know I'm not the only one going through little things like that on a regular basis. So we're doing the best we can. Just to echo some things, that 7th and 8th grade promotion work group. I was at all 3 of those Zoom meetings, very excited about where we ended up, but the input and technical expertise in particular of our students was really something. It was something that all of the principals and everyone else who was in there was going, "Can you do that for all of us?" And they're going, "Sure, why not?" And these are high school students who are suddenly volunteering to do 26 or 25 elementary graduation videos and all the middle school videos. And if you need help, they're on it. No problem. We're just doing school, nothing else going on. I mean, it was wonderful. They really stepped up and they wanted to be great. for all of our younger students even. So that was fabulous. I've attended a couple of virtual PTA meetings and planning. There's a lot of cute signage out there everywhere in the district for 5th grade promotion, 8th grade promotion, our 12th graders. They're popping up everywhere. I love that. This is our community coming together and trying to make this as special as we can for our kids who are experiencing something that's just so different and such a bummer. So we're trying to make something positive come out of it. And I think it's been a good effort. And I, for one, like it. So I hope our students do too. My 5th grader thought it was kind of fun. I think it wasn't his, he maybe wasn't his piece of cake, but I was really excited about it when it popped up in our front yard by surprise. Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. There are some signs going on for those heroes in our district as well. Some car parades, the videos that popped up on Twitter and Instagram, they were really wonderful. We're really, as parents and students and community, really doing what we can and making a real effort to make all of these celebrations into something where we're all going to remain safe, but we're still trying to make everyone feel special because everybody's doing such hard work, such great work. I think some of these Zoom meetings, though they're no fun, they really do capture a lot more parent participation. The Mesa Verde Middle School Principal Coffee Chat that I attended last week, 71 parents tuned in. There have never been more than about 7 who've come to a regular Friday Principal Coffee Chat. But on Zoom, no one's doing anything else. Might as well see what the principal has to say about all of this distance learning. And that was wonderful to see. The Community Advisory Committee for Special Education was a couple nights ago. 60 participants on Zoom at their high point. That was really amazing too. While acknowledging all of those unique difficulties that our families of students with disabilities are having with distance learning, the CAC board, they were really overwhelmingly positive about their experiences working with our special education staff and all of the teacher efforts. And kudos to Mr. Mizell and his staff. Hearing those board members who are parents in our community about how great it is when they have a problem, they know where to go and they know that our staff will listen and problem solve with them. They feel heard. They were handing out thank yous left and right. It was wonderful to hear. And again, 60 participants in that. I too turned into the California Suburban School District quarterly meeting. I was struck, like I think both of Dr. Patel and Ms. Coupret said, they're mostly spitballing, just like we are, about some kind of unimaginable horrors that we might see coming out in the governor's budget, which came out this afternoon, right at about noon. I did want to mention one thing that came out of that. They're watching a couple pieces of legislation, including Assemblymember Weber's bill. She's local to Southern County. She has a bill to prevent districts who receive extra income for at-risk students under our local control funding formula from rolling their unspent money into their general fund budget the next year. That's a loophole in our LCFF that's really frustrating to a district like us, like POSD, that receive very little of that extra funding. We always spend what little that we do get on those at-risk students who that money is intended for. So closing that loophole, I think, is really important. I know that Poway Unified is behind it, and I hope that that bill passes by unanimously. Let me see, what else did I want to say? I've been on a lot of webinars too. CSBA, our California School Boards Association, put on a good one about special education just yesterday, about legal standards and the impacts that we're feeling, a good faith standard, timelines, ESY, remediation, really great. And to hear things that I already have heard and seen coming out of our district was really great. We are not behind the curve. We're not hearing things for the first time in these webinars. We're already doing them. It's like they looked at us and said, oh, let's tell everyone else what they're doing. So that was really great. I feel like we're doing a top-notch job in so many ways. I I know. The virtual Voyager showcase was yesterday. Kudos to Dr. Burks and all of her education technology TOSAs. They put on a great show yesterday on, it was YouTube Live, I believe, but it featured principals and teachers from all of our Voyager schools who were talking about their experiences in the program, what it's meant for their students. And several people mentioned that they felt that their students and their staff were more prepared for distance learning and had a smaller learning curve because of that Voyager program. I think that was, to me, the big eye pop, like, oh, wow, okay, we got to keep doing this. We got to keep expanding. This is wonderful. So let's keep going. And again, kudos to you, Dr. Burks. And I'm just going to close out with, I only took the quickest look at the governor's May revised budget. The entire education rainy day fund is going to be drained. We're not getting any COLA, a 10% reduction to our local control funding formula. Any spitballing about the horrors of the new budget look like they may be realized. So I would like to say I look forward to hearing what happens at our June meeting when Mr. Little has more time to look it over, but I really don't look forward to it. I know it's going to be messy. It's going to hurt. But that concludes my report. That takes us to Dr. Phelps.
Thank you, Madam President. We have many recognitions of note to present to the board this evening, and please look at your board packet for the full descriptions in 12.2. I encourage you to read them. In the interest of time, I'd like to highlight one very impressive one in particular. At the first ever Virtual Cyber Patriot National Cybersecurity Finals in the middle school division, PUSD swept first, second, and third place. First place went to the team from Design 39 campus. Second and third place went to teams from Oak Valley Middle School. In the high school division, both first and second place went to the teams from Del Norte High School. Our students, yay! Our students have been dominating this event. Congratulations on 5 national title championships in 5 years. Yeah, that's very exciting. I wanted to say that I had an opportunity to join the Voyager showcase as well, the first virtual one. I went to our first showcase last year that it was live, and I was quite impressed then. And now we have so many more teachers that are on board, part of the Voyager showcase. And it was really, really exciting. I was quite impressed how they were able to do that and narrate it online. They did an amazing job. It was great to hear the stories of the teachers and hear the wonderful innovative practices that they're trying on in their classrooms and being able to share that with their colleagues. I look forward to hopefully being able to see it again live next year, but really great job to all of our ed tech coaches, and the coaching you're able to provide to all of our teachers has been nothing but top-notch and phenomenal. Great job to IT and the ed tech coaches and Jennifer, your department, for putting on such an amazing showcase virtually. I've never seen anything like that done online. So good job. Yay. For this month, Excellence in Education series, our Studio 701 interns, I wanted to highlight an event they covered just before schools closed due to the COVID-19. On March 11th, my Superintendent Student Advisory Council hosted PUSD's first ever district-wide No Place for Hate conference for elementary and middle school students. It was a big success, and we never got a chance to celebrate their hard work to help improve school culture by fighting bullying and bias starting at a young age. I have to tell you, at this event, it was funny because it was right when we were hearing all of the stuff going on around the COVID-19, and it was right before schools started closing. And I'm just going to share a little funny little thing that happened. I walked in, and I was seeing Ms. Tech is already lying. I walked in, and they were doing all kinds of team building activities, and they started doing this human chain. And it was right when I started going, oh my gosh, I hate shaking hands, holding hands. I got to wash my hands because I hold hands with everybody. And Ms. Peck goes, hey, Dr. Phelps would love to be part of this human chain. And so I was like, oh my God, okay, sure. And so we're doing a human chain with all these elementary kids, and we're literally like, who spits in front of each other trying to get out of this human chain. And all I kept thinking is, please, Lord, help us get out of this human chain. Like, please, everyone figure out how we can untangle each other, because we were stuck, tangled together, all wrapped in each other with our faces right against each other. So anyways, that was my whole experience freaking out about COVID-19, thanks to Miss Peck herself. Anyways, so I'm excited about showing you this great event that my awesome students, I call them my students because they are part of my student advisory that I have the honor of meeting with our high school kids every month. They put on this whole event, and I'm so proud of them. They did an amazing job for our elementary and middle school students. So take a look.
Despite the early morning hour, elementary and middle schoolers arrived at Rancho Bernardo High School, full of anticipation for a day of activities and learning. On March 11th, just a few days before PUSD schools closed due to COVID-19, students participated in the first ever Poway Unified No Place for Hate district-wide conference. It was hosted by the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, a group of student leaders representing all PUSD high schools.
They wanted to be able to share their information and be able to give kids opportunity to learn and take back and show leadership on their own campuses. It's critical that we start as early as possible to start forming ideas and attitudes and beliefs.
The day started with a welcome message from the Anti-Defamation League's education director, Kelsey Greenberg Young, who kicked off the conference by starting the conversation about the bias and bullying students witness in their day-to-day lives.
I have never been prouder of an event in my entire life as I am of this one. No Place for Hate is really all about student leadership taking these topics on, right? This idea that we need to challenge bias and bullying everywhere. And so to have students decide that they are going to empower the younger students is exactly what this work is all about.
The elementary and middle school attendees participated in activities that centered around the key concepts of No Place for Hate, which include respect, inclusion, and standing up against bias and bullying in a positive and proactive way. Participants acted out scenarios, played games, and learned different strategies on how to be an ally and discussed their own experiences on campus.
I feel like it's important because there's so much going on in society right now. So the fact that we're all trying to make an effort to do better in society will help get rid of some of those issues and create more leaders.
The Superintendent Student Advisory Council put in many hours of planning and served as the facilitators for each of the breakout groups. They encouraged the younger students to take back what they had learned to their own schools.
As leaders on campus, especially at this young age, they need to be setting that example of acceptance. They need to be accepting all students, and when something does go wrong, they need to be that ally for a student that is getting bullied.
The purpose of this conference was to continue Poway Unified's work towards ensuring our schools are a safe place for everyone to learn. District leadership was impressed by the student-led efforts.
Student-led activities like this one, it's what makes Poway Unified students so special, frankly, that they put something together like this because they know how important it is. Positive campus cultures are really, really important for our students to feel comfortable, to be able to be themselves.
For the Excellence in Education series, I'm Kate On, Studio 701.
It was such a great event. It was so much fun. I was just so proud of our students. You guys did a great job. And Mariana, I know you played a huge role in coordinating and organizing that. So thank you. And Ms. Peck as well, too, in helping lead our students. Did you see that little clip about making a change? Did you see how close I was? I told you. Okay, nobody was sick. All right. The months of April and May bring numerous employee recognitions for principals to administrative assistants, our food nutrition staff, bus drivers, classified employees, the teachers. It's a wonderful event for us to recognize how much of our team effort it takes to make our district so successful. You are all superheroes in my eyes, and now more than ever, our community recognizes and appreciates the important role that we all play in the health and success of our students. So thank you to all of our hardworking employees as we finish out the school year strong. Obviously, we wish we could celebrate with you in person, but for now, please accept my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Phelps. And I forgot to note, I thought that your letter to our senior class was amazing, heartfelt. I loved it. I hope every single one of our 12th grade graduating students gets a chance to read that. Check it out. You can find it all over Poway Unified's social media. Pomerado News, I think, is where it was published initially, but you can find it almost anywhere now. It's gone all over the place. So other superintendents from other districts are wishing they had done it first, but there we go again. Poway leading the way. Woo!
It went viral.
Awesome. This brings us to my favorite agenda item, 14.0. This is adjournment. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held Wednesday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. At the school district office. Well, really, it'll be via Zoom again. So thank you, everybody. We are adjourned at 6:41. Thank you.